DC heroes come in all shapes and sizes, but some people need to keep the streets clean. Whether it's Wildcat beating people to a pulp, Huntress beating people to a pulp, or a bunch of other heroes beating people to a pulp. We got it all in today's top 10 list. Coming in number 10, we have Wildcat. Someone who's been working behind the scenes with heroes for years. He isn't the most famous of the street level brawlers, but he has trained the likes of Black Canary, Batman, and some of the Robins, and many other heroes. He was a champion boxer who was framed for the murder of one of his friends. For a while the police were after him, but eventually he was able to sneak away and don the mask of Wildcat. Through this he was able to track down the man responsible for framing him for murder and clear his name. After this he would work with the Justice League for decades, bringing up some of the best heroes of all time. Next on the list we have Jean-Paul Valley. Someone who wanted to be Batman but didn't really believe in the whole "I'm not gonna kill people" thing. Jean-Paul Valley was trained by the Order, a spin-off group from the Knights Templar, who has trained some of the most dangerous people in history. Jean-Paul Valley was commissioned by Batman to take the mantle of Dark Knight because Bruce Wayne's back was broken, but this guy took it a little too far and would brutalize every criminal that he found. Eventually Batman had to come back and take him out. Since then Jean-Paul has gone through a ton of iterations, even becoming a Black Lantern at one point, but now he has fallen into the role of hero, and anyone who has been trained by Batman is a serious force on the streets. Next on the list we got CATMAN. What would Batman look like if he had a feline theme? Or what would Catwoman look like if she was born a dude? Well, it might look a lot like Catman. At first glance this might look like the weakest attempt at making a Batman clone. You literally changed one letter, but it makes sense because Catman actually started out as a villain. He had a massive white tiger named Rasputin and seemed like he wanted to beat Batman at his own game. The guy has amazing tracking skills with a keen sense of smell. He is a world-class martial artist, he's an Olympic level athlete, and he has a utility belt just like Batman. I feel like this guy might have a love-hate relationship with Batman. But then the character kind of fell off. There was an era where the writers turned him into a washed-up nobody who was overweight and lost his drive to be any sort of villain. Then he bounced back and was revitalized into an anti-hero, taking out crime on his terms, and he even became a member of the mysterious group known as the Secret Six. This guy had one hell of a comeback story, and I forgot to mention that he also has razor-tipped gauntlets to simulate claws. He is really committing to the bit. I love it. Also, if this dude punches you with those things, it's an instant kill, probably. Next on the list we have Richard Dragon. Back in the 1970s, martial arts were all the rage. Bruce Lee made everyone want to start kung fu fighting, as the famous song says. Well, this spread into almost every form of media, with both DC and Marvel creating the respective versions of martial arts masters. For DC, one of those characters was Richard Dragon. Richard starts off as a thief. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, but you know what? You gotta pay the bills. Well, one day he's confronted by a security guard while trying to pull off a heist, and the dude manhandles him, throws him around like a little baby. And then he has Richard on the ground before he can think twice about trying to escape. Luckily for him, the security guard saw the good in Richard and offered him to come train and learn the ways of kung fu rather than going to jail. A shot at redemption. Over the next few years, Richard would train and learn the ways of martial arts and become a master. Through this process, it would be revealed that he truly does have a heart of gold, and he only turns to using his honed martial abilities when he has no other options. Next on the list we got Lady Shiva, a story of revenge turned to anguish, turned into a life of fighting crime. Such are the struggles of a hero. People love to get revenge on those who wronged them. Lady Shiva grew up thinking that the previous hero on this list, Richard Dragon, killed her sister. She hated his guts, and she knew that there was one way that she could quell the beast inside her that wanted revenge, and that was getting revenge. I think you guys could have figured that one out yourself. Well, Lady Shiva, also known as Sandra Woosin, would dedicate her life to training in martial arts so she could one day be strong enough to take down the man who killed her sister. Eventually, she was one of the most deadly martial artists around and set up a trap for Richard Dragon, but things didn't go as planned. They got into a scuffle and Richard was able to reveal to her that he never killed her sister. In a way, this kind of broke her. Her whole purpose was to kill this dude, and now she had no reason to kill him. So she decided to team up with him them and take on the world of crime and become a deadly crime fighter. Next on the list we got Helena Wayne. There have been a few renditions of Huntress over the years and everyone has their own favorite, but I think mine would have to be Helena Wayne. Because something I really love about comics is when you spend years building something up and give fans exactly what they want. Like in Kingdom Come, you have all the versions of Flash formed into one super Flash. That's huge fan service, and I feel the same way about Helena Wayne. She is the daughter of both Catwoman and Batman. I mean, firstly, it was about time those two lovebirds hitched up and broke the sexual tension that had been building between them for years. But on top of all of that, how do you make a more badass person than by mixing two of the best street level heroes who have ever lived? Helena Wayne of course sports the famous Huntress crossbow and rides around on a killer motorcycle. Next on the list we got Green Arrow. Similar to Batman, but way more of a playboy. Oliver Queen was a multi-billionaire who didn't care about anyone but himself. He wanted to party and rub elbows with other elites and fill every one of his sinful desires. Then one of his co-workers tried to kill him after stealing $14 million from him. That sucks. The dude threw him in the ocean and he managed to make it to a deserted island, and he might have died if it wasn't for his Boy Scout training. The dude knew how to survive in the wilderness and was able to find a broken down generator and use the parts to make a makeshift bow. Luckily for him, he was a skilled archer, and this would lead to him being able to hunt. The wild part of this story is that living off this island was probably the best time of his life until he found a village that was killed by some drug smugglers. He then took out the smugglers and turned them over to the police. This was how he got his start in hero work. He would then come back to the world that he used to know and become one of the most powerful crime fighters ever and team up with some of the best members of the Justice League and even become a high-ranking member of the Justice League. Next on the list we got Jason Todd. Jason Todd, also known as the Red Hood, didn't have the easiest transition into the Bat family. He was a troubled kid forced to steal just to survive, who was scooped up by Batman and brought into a life of hero work. Being the new Robin should have been the best thing that ever happened to him, right? Well, not true. He died. And it was something that the fans voted for, which is kinda messed up. But after the Jason Todd Robin was killed, we see someone show up on the scene who knows many of Batman's tricks, loves to use guns, and goes by the name the Red Hood. Who could this be? Well, it was Jason Todd coming back from the dead. Eventually, he would regain his sanity and stop trying to kill Batman, but he would keep his cool new getup. With Jason being the least skilled in acrobatics compared to the other members of the Bat family, he relies on grit and brute force to take down his enemies, and every now and again he'll pull out a gun, which is something I've always thought would work well with the utility belt. Next on the list we have Black Canary, the wielder of the famous Canary Cry. That is one of the most powerful superhero moves ever, able to take down some of the strongest adversaries and even destroy entire buildings. She is one of the strongest street level crime fighters around. Not every street level crime fighter is able to work their way up to being a member of the Justice League, and she comes from a line of people who want to see justice in the world. Dina's mother was the original Black Canary, and even though her mom didn't want her daughter running around trying to fight crime, because what parent wants their kid to go into a line of work that has very little pay and a high chance of them getting murdered, but she did it anyways and became one of the most famous members of the DC universe. Also, her father was a cop, so crime fighting is really in her blood. It wouldn't make sense if Dina didn't have the urge to clean up the streets. Outside of her insanely strong sonic scream, she is also a very skilled martial artist. She was trained by the famous Wildcat. And to add a little extra emotion to the relationship between her and Wildcat, he was also the one who trained Dina's mom. He loves to produce some badass crime fighting ladies. And number one on the list is Mr. Terrific. You can be a billionaire like Green Arrow and that's enough to be a great hero. But what if you're a billionaire and one of the smartest people who ever lived and also one of the best athletes ever? Mr. Terrific, also known as Michael Holt, is one of the smartest men alive. Understanding quantum physics at the age of 6, he's an elite level athlete, winning multiple gold medals at the Olympics. He has more money than God. Well, he decided to use his knowledge and power to become one of the strongest street level heroes with a list of gadgets to rival Batman. This dude can turn invisible. He has magnetic balls that fly around and knock people out. He can fly, create holograms, create force fields. He's incredibly skilled with ballistic weapons. He's also good at hand-to-hand combat. He's got a keen eye for danger, and did I mention he has enough money to buy bottle service until the world turns to dust? Yeah, this dude is legit. Alright guys, that has been our list. Thank you for enjoying this nerdy content. I will see you next time.